Welcome to Freaky Fandoms. I am Andrew, and with me is Deborah, and we are now on day 3 of our 12 days of Christmas.
3 French hens. It's gonna happen every time. I don't care.
It still fucking throws me how, that is how we're supposed to be doing this for our countdown. And 3 French hens has absolutely fucking nothing to do with what we're talking about tonight.
It doesn't matter.
All right, everybody. So it's day 3 for us for this. We are now talking about a very underground film that a lot of folks know from the Red Letter Media crew, especially over the last couple of years. But Deborah, why don't you mention the movie we're discussing today?
So today we are talking about Elves. I was trying to come up with something
kind of clever, but
no, Elves.
This movie, I don't know if it warrants some kind of cleverness. I think it just needs to be taken at face value.
Yeah.
Because you can't really spin this in kind of a funny or kind of way. This movie's fucked.
It's really upsetting at points.
Yeah.
It's dark, but at the same time,
inappropriate.
It's very inappropriate, and it's also really stupid.
Yeah.
Really, really stupid.
So, everybody, if you haven't seen this movie yet, or you don't know about the film, we're going to break it down for you, but we're also going to tell you to go and check out the Red Letter Media, I think it was a holiday special that they did.
Yeah, it was a holiday special.
Yeah, where this film, Elves, was part of the handful of movies that they watched and then discussed in their usual roundtable review and conversation format. But the thing is that the way that we saw this movie after watching them do their thing and, wanting to go and check it out was we found it on YouTube, I think.
Yeah, because
the tapes are fucking crazy hard to find.
We had watched the RLM special because we love them and we watch them whenever they come out. And at the end, we were like, we need to see this fucking movie. And it is near impossible to do it. And then 2 days later, we found it on YouTube, full length, horrible quality, couldn't even see what was going on.
Yeah.
But we at least watched it and we're like, okay, this is good. Did it the year after. And then we got a interesting bootleg copy of a DVD that was ripped from a VHS that was at a convention stand.
Yeah, because, this year we finally committed to adding this to the permanent collection in any way that we could. But we could not get a decent copy of the tape at all. And actually, our tape player is broken right now, so we got to find a new VCR.
Santa.
But yeah, anybody listening who wants to contribute in that way, we're more than happy to DM you the P.O. box to send us a VCR there, Santa.
Please don't do that. We can get our own.
Yeah. That aside, we found a listing from someone who was claiming that this was a licensed DVD that had been bought at a convention. So we thought, okay, maybe this guy was able to find some DVD that we didn't know about at some convention vendor booth. And
you want to tell him what it looks like?
Oh, it's so good. Clearly, this guy who sent us this DVD printed off the cover art from a high definition JPEG off of some source online and put it in a DVD sleeve, the kind that you...
A jewel case.
Yeah, normally get jewel case for, DVDRs. It is a plain ass, no fucking, key art or text at all.
Just a plain white disc that... It's one of those ones that you look at and you're like, is this a videotape of a birthday party or porn?
when you go to someone's collection and you're like flipping through and you see just a plain white DVD-R, DVD-RW, and you have no idea what's on it, but it's in there with the rest of the movies. So that's what we got, and that's what we put on. And what was really fucking surprising,
There's actually a movie.
yeah, we could actually like see and hear stuff, which was never the case before. Because with RLM, you know, it's fun. We usually treat those guys like kind of teasers and previews.
Yeah.
And highlights and, you know, little reviews and occasionally major spoilers. But, you know, we take that for face value because most of the stuff is great regardless of whether or not you know the ending. Because, like, with this movie, holy shit, there's so much going on that those guys didn't even touch.
Yeah.
But we got this copy, and it looks like ripped nearly from a perfect quality VHS tape, minus a couple of little blips here and there, which you can tell like
the little video bumps.
Yeah, but it's nothing significant. It looks fucking good.
It looks good and it sounds good.
Yeah, which is really surprising for this movie because Elves, I don't know if it should ever look good or sound good, considering what happens in the story.
So should we talk about this fucking movie?
Set it up. Let's talk about Dan Haggerty versus the Fourth Reich.
So this is what,
God damn it!
What gets me is at work today we were talking about Christmas movies that people don't know a lot about. And people were bringing shit up like Gremlins and shit that's actually well known.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and they're like, what about you? I'm like, Elves. And they're like, what's that? I'm like, a girl somehow summons an elf that was engineered by Nazis. And they're like, what?
When you say somehow, let me put an asterisk next to a correction and say it's through an occult magic ritual read from a book that had been in a former Third Reich old man in a wheelchair's library.
And she's sitting with her friends and she's like, we come together as the daughters of anti-Christmas.
I swear to God. It's oh man. So, you know, it's funny about that because right now we're going through a like witch renaissance in horror movies and genre films. You know, like the Suspiria remake came out. There have been just so many fucking movies, but it really reminds me of something that just happened like yesterday, and this makes me so happy. Barbara Crampton officially stated that her movie that came out this year, Dead Night, is a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Totally. And now no one can deny it because it came straight from the fucking source. And it makes me so fucking happy. And there's a lot of witch ritual and a lot of fun stuff in there, too.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about elves.
The thing about Elves is that there's this pseudo sort of empowerment intro where all of these, you know, I guess late teenagers are like, we're the fucking women can do anything. And it's like, yeah. And
it's literally for 3 minutes.
And then for the rest of the movie, they're doofs.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
It's really bad.
Let's talk about what happens after they summon the evil elf of Christmas.
She doesn't even know that she summons it. She cuts her hand and her blood gets on the ground. And she's like, oh, I gotta get home. And they run away. And then the elf pops out of the ground. So they don't even know that it happened.
The elf starts stalking the family,
well,
breaks into the house.
Her.
The brother.
Yeah.
You remember the brother who's like...
he wasn't stalking him. He was just trying to get in the house. But he's stalking her, for sure.
This is very much like a Troll 2 kind of setup. And this movie, like, it seems to have all these threads that are kind of connecting it lightly. Like, they even mention Gremlins. They talk about the elf being a fucking troll the entire time. You know, the Dead Night thing, that's a very light connection. But the big thing about this movie is that it's very nihilistic in an extremely dark way.
So I'm gonna just go ahead and list off, like, when we say dark, we mean dark.
Yeah.
There is a...
Let's do the Joe Bob drive-in totals.
There is a... There is a cat being drowned in the toilet. There is rape and incest. There is emotional and physical abuse of children.
There are Nazi Gestapo assassins. There are executions by gunshot through the head of an underage woman in an elevator.
There are occult conspiracy theories.
There's teenage murder. There's breaking and entering of a giant mall, department store.
Yeah.
The drowning a cat thing, like, oh my
And
god,
to
I can't
top
get
it
past
all
that.
off, it ends with impregnation of the master race.
By evil elf creature. This episode is gonna be flagged so bad. Like, folks, here's the thing. Like, we are talking about something that exists, and we're not like putting words into the mouths of these characters. We are like straight up pulling from this fucking movie to talk to you about it.
I know I'm laughing. It's not out of hee hee ha ha. It is like discomfort laughing.
Yeah, like uncomfortable, inappropriate, like oh, this is bad. I don't know how this fucking movie exists. Like, whatever, because the script for this, the structure of the film, the story is like, I can see why this has never made it to DVD or Blue, like in a wide release.
Like why it got shelved or just kind of pushed aside and forgotten on purpose.
I think really if this movie had as much, like, I don't know, popularity or mass knowledge as something like Gremlins, it would be one of the most controversial and possibly like triggering banned movies of the entire Christmas season.
For sure.
Yeah, because the main character, like, the shit that she goes through in this movie and what's actually going on all the way up until the end is just one, like, horrible, awful thing after another. It's fucked up. But it's fascinating. And it's also, to a degree, kind of a so bad it's good movie.
And it's also, in a way, kind of campy.
Yeah, oddly enough. And I think the biggest amount of camp is the actual elf itself.
It is the weirdest mixture of dark and camp I've ever seen.
Yeah. It's a disturbing movie, and it's a very inappropriate film. Oh god, the mall Santa who gets stabbed in the balls after he tries to molest.
Castrated. Santa said oral.
Jesus Christ.
It's like, what?
This movie is sleazy as shit. Like, it is gross. It is just fucked up all over. And it's a Dan Haggerty film.
Yeah.
For fans of his work.
Which he did a fine job. He was like the only good decent character in this.
Yeah, he's kind of the old grizzled guy, hard on his luck.
Recovering alcoholic.
Yeah, sort of doing the 70s character, kind of the John Carpenter character thing too, if, you know, we're talking about like They Live or, you know, some of the stuff like that. But he tries to do good during the events of this movie, and everything is just working against him because there's this giant plot, which I don't even know how this plot is in this movie, of like the Fourth Reich trying to be reborn through evil elf magic.
It's the Third Reich had engineered the elves.
Like a Nazi scientist.
Yeah, a Nazi
had been doing experiments.
The Third Reich, Nazi scientists did an engineering thing and made elves, or put DNA to elves, and she's going to give birth to the Fourth Reich, which is going to be the master race.
Yeah, because the lead scientist for the Nazis, who was in charge of this project, had determined that the way he could give birth to a woman that could be the mother of an army of evil elves and the Antichrist would be to have sex with his daughter to produce technically
the most pure.
Yeah. Oh my god.
It's so fucked up.
It's really fucked up. So, let's put a cap on all that shit and talk about the more I don't even feel good about saying the part of this movie is entertaining now. But let's talk about the stuff that's like so bad it's laughably like
We're talking about
out
the puppet, aren't we?
I want to talk about the puppet. I want to talk about the exposition character, Mr. Library.
Mr. Library! Yes!
I want to talk about the joke that's in an actual college library in the film where Dan Haggerty walks in and goes, "Hey," and this is a guy who like smokes cigarettes when he walks into every scene, regardless of whether or not it's a no smoking building. He's just like, "Hey, I'm trying to remember a book that I read on occult rituals and symbols back when I was in college."
Oh yeah, it's an occult. Aisle 666. Is that a joke?
Yeah. There's like a fucking occult sciences fucking Dewey Decimal System 666 joke. And the thing is, his non sequiturs in this movie, like, there's a point in the film where a mall Santa gets killed, and the cops come and they do a chalk tape line drawing on the floor.
And then he gets the job as the new Santa, and he's using the dressing room, and he talks to the chalk outline on the floor.
No, not only does he talk to the chalk outline, and he's like, "Oh, times are tough. Kids are pissing on me. We're just trying to get by, aren't we, Eddie?" He names the goddamn chalk outline Eddie.
I think that's what his name was.
I don't know. All I knew him as was pervert Santa who did coke before he got stabbed in the balls by an elf. That's the kind of movie this is. Like when the cops confront the main girl, Kirsty, or Kirsten. Jesus Christ.
Kirsten?
Yeah, because like there's one point where the dad's like yelling at her. He's like, "Kirsten! Kirsten!"
Oh.
This is Christmas. This is a movie that's literally set on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Oh, no, it's a... well, it ends on Christmas Day.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, in a wonderful way, in a burnt out forest.
In a burnt out forest that
an
wasn't burnt
impregnated
down.
teen.
It wasn't burnt down, but now it's burnt down, and it's raining, and she's like, "It's snowing." No,
Fucking rain, stupid. No, I don't want to be mean, but my god, this movie. Yeah, so there's just one scene after another that's absolutely fucking ridiculous. But let's talk about some of the characters. If you want to talk about Mr. Library, please do.
No, Mr. Library is all you.
We save him? Okay. You want to talk about the evil mom?
The mom's a fucking cunt.
She gets a fucked up death, too.
I'm sorry, I don't use that.
Beethoven's Fifth.
I don't use that word lightly, but dang, she
drowns a pregnant cat in a toilet.
She gets it in a pillowcase and drowns it in the toilet and then buries it in the backyard.
Fucking Merry Christmas, folks. That's Elves. That's this movie.
And her daughter, the main character, was out for one night and stayed home.
Kirsten Dunst.
Like came home a little late, and she's like, "Oh, you came home late. I'm gonna close out your bank account and take all your money."
Yeah, I'm gonna take all your savings, even though you work at the mall donut shop and all you get is tips. This is another film where the 17-year-olds are played by clearly women in their 30s.
The mom is just awful, though. She's doing that. She's killing the cat. She's always discrediting anything that her daughter says.
Being verbally abusive in every scene.
Super verbally abusive any single time they interact with each other.
"You're just like your father, narcissistic, stupid, asshole." And then the confrontation happens, and she's like, "Well, your father's actually downstairs. Your father's your grandfather." And that reveal happens.
Yeah.
And then she has a personal freak out where she's like mashing lipstick into her face, like
she
fucking wild at heart.
Friggin' breaks.
Yeah, and then takes a bath with a fucking radio plugged into the wall, blasting Beethoven that's like on a rickety bar stool right next to the water in the tub.
Because that's how you do it. That's how you do it when you want to die, but you also don't really want to try.
Yeah.
You just want to tempt it. But the elf comes in and throws it in anyway.
Yeah,
so.
you know, that's I mean, it was either going to be that setup or she was going to like go into the bathroom and make some toast. Either way, or the old hairdryer gag. That's always a good one.
They did a good job with the electrocution too, because like you see her body in the bathtub, and you actually see like the makeup of what it would look like.
Yeah, that's part of the editing too, because what's fun is that like they applied burn makeup and boils and things like that, and then they cut back and forth. And then we see the bloody symbol, which
oh god,
there is a ridiculous thread going through this entire movie about an occult symbol that looks like a cross between
like
a
a
plus
sickle.
sign and a question mark.
It looks like a sickle,
Yeah.
but a little bit more kind of almost closed off,
Mm-hmm.
and an upside down cross. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
And so you find it like it happens whenever like someone gets killed by the elf, it just shows up somehow. And then if you find out that it's the original insignia for the Nazi part.
It's so bad. Like
I'm
when
not
Dan
trying to
Haggerty's
laugh. I'm sorry.
when Dan Haggerty is confronting characters in this movie, he's like always getting up in somebody's face, and you can tell that they're like kind of reeling back because of the fucking Marlboro smell and the wild
it's not
turkey.
marbles, it's camels.
He's smoking camels
He's
in this
smoking
movie.
Camels. He has
course.
a carton of camels
Oh,
on
that's
the
right.
donut.
Oh, let's talk about the fucking product placement, because this movie was brought to you by
Like-
many different agencies, including Goodwill.
Yes! Goodwill.
I couldn't believe that shit when we were watching the credits and the fucking elf fetus faded away, and then we started singing. Because that's how the credits roll in this movie, folks. That's how it ends, and you know that, Kirsten's pregnant with the
It's like you see
with the
these-
elf antichrist.
She's in the
Yeah.
burnt forest with her brother in the snow, and there's music, and then it just fades to black, and you see this elf fetus, and it's just heartbeat, no music, and that's what they show
the
you
lead
for
out.
the credits.
Yeah.
It's there the entire time.
Yeah. Oh god. Like the fucking brother too. Like the whole sexy auntie scene.
He peeks in on her, and he's like, I saw your big tits, and I'm gonna tell everybody. You're her brother.
Yeah, and then they wrestle for about 10 minutes on the bed, and that's a little uncomfortable, and a lot of this movie is a little uncomfortable, and a lot uncomfortable.
Yeah. You want to talk about Library Man? Because he's
Yeah, let's talk about him. So, I noticed in this film there are a lot of similarities to the structure of many Fulci movies, where shit is happening, and then eventually we reach the point where we need a little bit of context. So we wind up having a good extended scene where we meet a character name blank / exposition. So Dan Haggerty goes into a fucking library,
University
I guess,
thing.
and talks to a guy with a ponytail who is the worst on-screen presence in a film filled with barely trained actors. Like, no, man. This guy...
Just the speed in
Yeah.
which this man talks.
Yeah, he's like the fucking old Micro Machines guy. He's just like babada 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 babada, feeding him all this information, and he's just terrible at like trying to punch out these lines. But he explains to Dan Haggerty that all this stuff is going on, and he gets more understanding of the Nazis and the assassins and the elves and the folklore and
a little bit, because then he has to go to the professor's house while he's carving
learn more.
And learn
He gets
more.
a reference. He gets a referral to another guy.
Who is having Christmas Eve dinner with his family, his two little girls, and
Is that ham? No, it's roast turkey. Brrr.
and is standing
With a
in
knife.
front of his two little girls talking about the impregnation from the elf because of the Fourth Reich
So inappropriate.
in front of the fucking kids, and they're just looking at him.
No, they start playing with food. Like they start throwing food at each other.
They look at it. They're looking at him. It's like a good solid minute of just them looking at him, and then they start playing with the food. And I think one of them throws it at the mom.
Yeah, and then the professor, who's been yelling at his maid to dial Nuevo Uno Uno, looks over at his wife and says, "Will you tell these kids to quit throwing food?" And the daughter looks up at him and goes, "Dad, who are the elves?"
Elves.
Should have been credits right there. That's another thing in this movie
That was
too.
really loud. I apologize.
Yeah, sorry for blowing out the speakers there, folks. There is a fucking Dawn of the Dead reference in this movie that is so fucking cringeworthy that I couldn't believe we heard it when we finally watched it on this VHS transfer. At one point, one of the assassins is telling the scientist, the
Grandfather
experimenter.
dad.
Yeah. When Jesus Christ, when there's no more room in hell, the elves will walk the earth. Fuck you. Fuck you, movie.
You were so mad. When
I
you
am
heard that.
still mad about that. Like, Ken Faree in fucking 50 years is going to be spinning in his Christmas grave over that shit. And god damn, fucking the memory of George Romero. It's just so bad. But this film,
It's not good. It's not good.
It's bad.
I don't know why we watch this every year.
I think we watch it out of drunken Christmas rage. Or, like, inebriated, like, just, you know, there are a handful of movies.
Because we're usually friggin' wasted.
Yeah.
Tonight we were not, though.
we were very, very clear-headed and sober watching this film. And I do not recommend this film without some kind of holiday cheer.
I think
to get through it.
You need a little bit of merriment to go along with it, and even then, it's not for everyone. So
I think you have to be very cynical.
You have to be very cynical. You have to have an extremely sick sense of humor.
Very warped, very dark. There's a whole thing about like Valley Girl, like pastiche going on with the characters and her friends.
Friends, yeah.
There's some really fucked up dialogue discussion in the movie when like one of the friends.
We're not even going to talk about that.
So no, none of that. You'll have to watch the movie to get that, but you'll know what we're talking about because it's way too fucking.
It's messed up,
inappropriate. But yeah, this movie. I don't think many people. Who don't really fall into the kind of category of people who are jaded as shit by bad movies, could really stomach.
Yeah.
I think this one would be a little bit too tough for most.
I don't think people who watch movies that are so bad it's good would like this. You have to be demented.
You have to be able to laugh at the most implausibly bad shit. And then, even then, this movie still like strikes a handful of chords that are just like this is going way too far.
Like this is not right.
Yeah. But really, I think overall, it's bad, but it's watchable. But at the same time,
I think be reserved. I think we watch it for Haggerty, and I think we also watch it because the puppet.
Yeah,
because the puppet's great.
Let's talk about the puppet a little bit because it's the shining beacon of the entire movie.
It's
the diamond in the rough.
His mouth doesn't move for once, so he's got this stupid face the entire time. But the thing is he changes sizes.
Yeah, and that's weird.
The time.
Yeah, like the close-ups are always the same. It's always the same from the shoulders up. With like this gnarly
his little legs.
Yeah, you know, he looks kind of like sort of the same type of guy as like the little demons in The Gate, again, talking about that. And then also Don't Be Afraid of the Dark.
It kind of reminds me of a mix of the little demons from The Gate mixed with the creature from The Unnameable minus the horns.
Good call. No horns, no hair. There's like a little bit of stringy hair on this thing and a little bit of fuzz. But perfect example. In a handful of scenes, like in the forest, which, you know, all the occult magic, witch ritual stuff happens, and it end caps the movie. The thing is probably, I would figure, just based on how it's shot and cut, maybe like 2 feet tall.
Well, that's
maybe
what they're saying.
2.5.
That's what they say throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
Is that it's 2 feet tall.
Yeah, but guess what? It's like fucking 7 feet tall when one of Kirsten's friends is in the fucking room with all the mannequins in the department store.
Standing on a table.
You don't know that? It's fucking huge. Like, it's fucking head size and it's shoulder width. is like
Right.
bigger than the fucking 6 foot tall mannequins.
That's the thing, though. It's like it never looked like, to me, it's like the height isn't too different. It
Yeah.
just looks like body parts get bigger
Yeah,
and
yeah,
smaller.
yeah. Like,
Like bigger shoulders, bigger head, smaller arms. Like it just goes up and down on body part size.
Sure. It's fucking ridiculous. But it's really funny too because like at one point it winds up wearing a fucking Santa's hat. It like exits scenes like
Kermit the Frog just.
Yeah, it's totally a Muppet thing where it does like the whip and then, flies right out of the frame. It's really fun. So I think, there are a lot of really laughable moments in this movie.
There's a lot of not okay things, but there's also a lot of really genuine minutes.
Yeah. So it's a mixed bag. But that's going to be a lot of what you're going to be hearing from us for the next 9 days until we get going for the end of the 12 Days of Christmas, folks. Mm-hmm. There's plenty more on the way, so get ready. Tomorrow will be For Calling Birds.
Yeah.
So,
and this one is actually going to kind of connect with the movie.
Yeah.
Because I know how you've been wanting that.
Yes. That'll be a little bit of stability on this will help offset the chaos. That'll be very helpful. So, I think that's about as much as we can really talk on Elves for right now. If you can find it, find it. But if you think from what we talked about, it might be a little bit too much for you, maybe watch the RLM and see if
I am going to caution people. I am cautioning people. This is not for everyone. Do not judge us for enjoying this movie.
Don't show your fucking kids. Don't show your grandparents. No. It is harsh in many parts, especially if you want to actually listen to what the fucking characters are saying and what the story is. But Deborah, do you want to do any quick shout outs or anything to get us wrapping up?
I mean, So I just want to say thank you to the patrons. You guys have been great.
Yes, thank you all so much.
We really do appreciate the support and feedback. We always want to hear from you guys, whether it be good stuff, bad stuff, what we can improve on, anything. We just want to hear from you guys. If you have ideas on what you want us to do, that would be great. We won't get into it until after the new year, though.
You know what? Actually, I'd like to mention one of our listeners and patrons, Lisa Sueños. Thank you so much for your feedback on the Rammstein episode with Josh Clark.
Yeah, thank you.
Like we talked about to you on Instagram, we can't wait to have him back on, whether it's going to be for more stuff about Rammstein or other industrial bands or movies, music, whatever.
Or dark art.
The dark art conversation was great with him. It was great to get the word out about his stuff, and it was great hearing from you too. So thank you so much for that input.
Yeah, we really appreciate stuff like that. We kind of thrive on it. We want more. Give it to us.
Well, folks, as always, check out our friends, American McGee, Chet Czar, the work that they're doing. Check out the Dark Art Society and the Dark Art community. Always follow what's happening around those folks. And I think if that's about it for day 3 of 12 Days of Christmas. Yeah, of course. Shane Isakowski, and check out his podcast as well, Drawing from Experience, which is a great show. I think that'll just about do it for us for tonight.
I need a depression nap.
Yeah. Yeah. A warm blanket, maybe some cider, and the little kiddo Meow Cat right next to us for a good night.
This movie was tough today.
Poor fucking Agamemnon. Oh man, that kills me. What happened in the beginning of this movie. But folks, as always, thank you so much for listening. We will see you tomorrow on day 4 of our Christmas run, and until then, we're Freaky Fandoms.
Grab the kid.